Alright, can everyone hear me? Good. So, what the fuck are you guys doing here this early in the morning? Seriously. It's like the earliest we've been here without having to go home afterwards to sleep. Okay, quick introduction. My name's Benjamin. This is Anders. I've been working in a bar for around about 10 years. Last kind of 6 years focusing primarily on cocktails. It happened by chance. I was broke, I didn't have a job, and a friend of mine asked if I wanted to start working in a club, and I said, fuck it, I don't have anything else to do, and I did, and the rest is kind of history. I fell in love with the profession and kind of the creative side of it, the hospitality side. It's a good thing to do if you... Well, it's good when you find yourself, and I found myself in this profession. So.
My name is Anders. My story is kind of similar. The only different thing is that I grew up in the restaurant business. My family ran restaurants and hotels. So I just, instead of actually going to school, I just fell in love with actually earning money. And yeah, I worked in hotel administration for about 10 years until I got really bored with sitting in an office. And I had a lot of friends in the bar industry, and I figured, why the hell not? And then I got into cocktails. That was about 6 years ago, I guess. And then a couple of years ago, I met this guy, and we kind of fell in love. Yeah.
My heterosexual life partner.
Yes. So, just to tell you a bit about the bar. Over the course of maybe the last 3 years or so, we started discussing opening an own place together, and we'd been looking at locations, but we didn't really find anything that was up to the standard, and also we're not that good with saving up money, so we never really got around to starting our own place. And then in 2012, at the end of the year, Åpent Bakeri, who owns this place, got in touch with us and told us that they were reopening Tran as a neighborhood restaurant, and they wanted a bar on the second floor. And they just told us that they wanted us to run it, and they just said, please open the best cocktail bar in Oslo. No questions asked.
And everyone, like that question you hear quite often from owners, and they all say it, but they never actually know what it entails. But yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like everybody that opens a bar wants to open the best bar, of course, but they seldom realize the amount of work and the amount of money that goes into it.
So, this is a approximately round about 40-seater cocktail bar. It was designed by a guy called Daryl Shrub, who is the in-house designer for Åpent Bakeri. He does all their spots. He's also done Coffee Brenneli and stuff. It's basically, we didn't really have any specs for him. We just wanted it to be kind of a cocktail bar. Like every part of this is something you might find in any cocktail bar. It kind of has that feel. It has that. I mean, it's really, really, really light right now. It's usually a lot darker and very intimate, and we wanted that. We wanted it to look like kind of the atypical cocktail bar. But it's not. We didn't want it to be like a style or era. I know many people equate the wallpaper to something special, or the pictures, or that picture to 50s, but it's not. It's just a mismatch of every kind of cocktail bar aesthetic. But even though, like, this is the bar, this is how we got the bar. It was given to us like this. I mean, we were part of the process, but this is basically, here's your bar. So for us, Even though it looks like this, for us it was complete blank canvas, looking like this. So we had to fill it.
And then we had to start working on some sort of a vision, and probably, I mean, when you start a creative process like that, you have to do brainstorming and stuff. We probably did it a bit differently than other people by just, we started getting drunk together all the time. And when we get drunk together, we eventually start talking about, well, we talk a lot of bullshit, and then we start talking about bars and how to work in bars and bars that we visited, things that we think are awesome, and also mainly all the places that we think are god shit awful, like things that don't work at all. And then after getting drunk a lot of times and talking about this, we realized that maybe we should start writing this down as well. So then we had to start getting up early in the morning to actually write down, try to remember what we talked about the day before.
So a typical scenario for that would be, okay, meet at, I don't know, meet at 12 o'clock somewhere, get coffee and just Coca-Cola, loads of Coca-Cola, and we would sit down and just discuss anything from morning bowel movements to stupid shit we saw the day before, and it would just, then we start watching random clips on YouTube. Just this
is actually a really important part of
really
the process.
Like, there's 6 hours of that shit. This is just bullshit. Just watching clips on YouTube, watching like rappers we find ridiculously funny, and then something would start to happen. We'd start just hammering out ideas like, what do we want the bar to be? How do we want the service to be? Everything. So anything from like, that's when we found the ideas for cocktails, the first kind of cocktail menu, the names of cocktails, which are incredibly stupid here. We'll get into that. The ingredients we wanted to use, different kind of spirits we wanted to use, all the technical shit like how to make the drink, how to serve it, how to shake it, how to stir it. And of course, one of the things we also do is we had a plan for how to profile ourselves on the social media part, which is fun.
Yeah, just to take an example of one such meeting, this was one of the early meetings we had, where we didn't have a name for the bar yet. And this was a meeting that actually lasted for, I think, a good 12 hours. And our only employee at the time was a guy called Sondre, who's still with us. I think he was just sitting there shaking his head, and he left after 4 hours. He was like, this is just bullshit, I'm leaving. Because the first 6 hours of that meeting we spent online. The first 4 hours, I guess, we were listening to this completely obscure, not that good rapper from Holmlia called Lil Goldfish. And we were just laughing our asses off, checking out everything that he does.
You should definitely check him out.
Yeah, check him out. I mean,
it's fucking hilarious.
We actually think that he is the only true hip-hopper in Norway. And after that, we got into Google translating really rude sentences to different languages to try and find something that sounded funny for the bar. And then on the sixth hour, we were like, okay, maybe we should try to be serious. Let's go back to what the owners have told us about bar, and let's try to find something that we can actually latch the name onto. And that brings us to the wallpaper in here. The story behind the wallpaper is that when they took over this space, this room was just an empty shell. It had been an office or a dressing room or something like that for many years. And when they tore down everything here, they found pieces of the original wallpaper depicting peacocks. So they figured, okay, we're going to bring that back. And they found this wallpaper, which is, I believe, a replica of a Chinese, it's a copy or something of Chinese wallpaper,
and it's
with
similar
peacocks
to what they found.
And we were like, okay, peacocks. And the owners told us, yeah, let's call it Peacock Lounge. And we were like, that is lame as fuck. Come on, that sounds completely ridiculous. So then we started looking up peacocks on the internet to try to find something that we could work with. And then we discovered this obscure deity from a religion called Yazidism. And there's this figure called Melek Taus, also known as the Peacock Angel. I'm not going to get into that religion because I don't really remember the specifics of it. But the important part is that this angel was, of course, the Christians demonized the whole religion. This was some kind of Eastern mystical religion or something. And this kind of flamboyant angel deity thing was compared to Lucifer, of course. Lucifer, the angel of light, also called the morning star. And then when we read Morning Star, and also this is something I can relate to because I've got like a black metal background. Seriously, when I was 14 years old, I planned blowing up a Pentecostal church near to my house. Actually, it just ended with the plans. I realized it was ridiculous at the time. And then we remember that, hey, wait a minute, Morning Star, Morgenstjerne, in Norwegian. It's actually the name, one of the names of the architects that built this building. They were a pretty big architect company that they built a lot of buildings in Oslo, a lot of villas. They built the Folkepassasjen, Folketeatret, and several other buildings. So we figured, okay, we can use that name and kind of have this hidden meaning of the name, which is Lucifer, the morning star. This is a cocktail den. It's sinful. And we kind of got into this whole kind of late 19th century gentleman occultism thing that we're kind of working with, but we're not really. This is actually the first time we're pronouncing it.
Yeah, we've never actually.
Don't tell anyone.
But like the logo for the bar is the seal of Lucifer.
If you, we can show you on our menus.
So, we wanted just what we wanted from the bar. We wanted from what we serve you guys when you come to visit. We wanted a cocktail bar with we wanted to be inspired by like other cocktail bars we've visited, like have a high international standard. We wanted to make cocktails with a classic approach to how to make cocktails, but with both in preparation of the drink and also in preparation of the ingredients that go into the drink, aka the syrups, the infusions, all that. But we wanted to use batshit ingredients, like anything that would work for us. We want to use it. So we'd have no limitations. Anything from like liqueurs that basically suck. Like we use a lot of banana liqueur. We hate banana liqueur, but it works beautifully with like sherries and Fernet Branca and stuff like that. So we use it. And like anything, any weird stuff we could we find in a shop or anything. And so herb spices, we had no limitations on what we use. The cost we didn't really care about. The cost reflects the drink. So if the drink is expensive, the reason it's expensive is that it's expensive to make. We also wanted to limit what we serve, in the sense that when someone comes in here and they want a Long Island iced tea, they won't get one. They want a mojito, we won't serve one. We don't serve fjellbecks, we don't serve hot drinks, which is basically because we don't have space for anything to heat anything up. We wanted to have spirits here. We have very little beer. The beer we have is just something we know that sells. We want this to be a cocktail bar. But we wanted good wine. That was always the kind of thing we want. We didn't want cheap wine, we wanted good wine. We wanted wine that also fits with drinks. You can have a glass of wine, you can have a cocktail with another glass of wine, and so on. We wanted the bar to be like very focused on the production technique, i.e. how the drinks are made, like really nerdy, dilution rates, all that stuff, which is super nerdy, but we wanted that. We wanted, because I think no one's really been that focused on that part yet. We wanted to cycle the menu often. We come up with drinks all the time. We have guests who come here 3 times a week, and they want something new every time. Every drink has to be new. So we had to like think of that all the time. And we wanted the service. So no one's really done that, but we wanted super like professional service. We wanted to have table service, knowledgeable waiters, which we're the waiters. So the bartenders will serve you. Everyone who serves here is a bartender, so they know what goes into the drink. We wanted the production to be super efficient. Like, you don't have to wait long for a drink. That's kind of how we set up the bar. It's quick to make a drink here. And we like our view on the hospitality part was we want it to be like very humble, knowledgeable, very hospitable. Say hello to everyone who comes in, seat them, give the option of having a drink, glass of water for everyone. Everyone gets popcorn after they've ordered a drink. All those kind of small details that add up to having a really nice experience when you sit here. We wanted to spread our knowledge. We wanted to be a place for education, because I mean, not many people know about drinks. They just neck drinks without actually knowing what goes into making them, and we wanted that to be very clear. Therefore, we had to have rules. We wanted rules to kind of help the service along. So we have rules about stuff like no more than 6 people in a group to keep the atmosphere, to keep the right atmosphere. No children, which is a given. It's a fucking bar. I just be nice to women. Just simple things, but things that like these are obvious things, but like
they're not obvious to a drunk person.
12 o'clock, and the drunk dude wants to hit on a girl. He will go and hit on the girl, and therefore we just you sit down, you have your drink, and then leave. So I mean, we have the luxury, because we're so small, of telling people to fuck off if they don't want to be part of this. It's a great thing, because if they want to be 12 people, they want to be rowdy, and they don't care what they're drinking, fuck off.
Go somewhere else.
Go somewhere else. There are loads of people that accommodate that. So that's what we wanted.
Yeah. So and even though we're saying that we feel we have the luxury to tell people to fuck off, we always do it in a really polite way.
Yeah, that's true.
This is the part of the service thing here is that when we talk about hospitality, and this is not something that's not really normal in bars in Oslo, bartenders have a tendency of being extremely cocky and rude to their guests, and it is called hospitality for a reason. I mean, come on, you're here to serve your guests, and you're here to make sure that everybody has a good time, you included, of course, but
a second.
Yeah, yeah. And then we have to talk about something else, which is that our professionalism during service is in no way the sum total of our personalities. Which kind of brings us to our media profile. How we profile ourselves on the internet, on Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. And also in our menus. I don't know if anyone has seen how we actually speak. It's kind of our Facebook page. It's kind of the opposite of the service we give. It more or less reflects our actual personalities, because since we were supposed to be extremely serviceable and humble when we are behind the bar, we kind of needed an outlet. And so our media profile is more like humorously hateful, nihilistic, misanthropical, sexist in a kind of like a tongue-in-cheek gangster rap kind of way, and extremely childish. Like, we're very childish. We're very anally focused, and we seldomly talk about drinks on our Facebook page. If we ever talk about drinks or the bar, we use a lot of time to get to the point. And it was strange because, of course, our owners were kind of skeptical to this, and even our bartenders were like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about?" But it turns out we get a lot of positive feedback on this because people love following what we're talking about. What are we going to rant about today? Which also brings us to like the other childish part of what we're doing is actually naming our cocktails, because we'd been talking about why do we have to name the cocktails. It's like a chef never names his dishes. It's extremely pretentious to actually give a name to something. It's just ingredients in a glass, and then you serve it.
It's not just, but yeah.
Yeah, well, to break it down. And all the good serious names we felt had already been taken, so we're like, okay, since we have to name them, at least let's have a laugh on the way. So that's also part of the creative process that we talked about. It often happens when we're extremely hungover, because your humor is just, you're not critical to anything then. And also, along the way, when we do a lot of play on words and stuff, and we write down things all the time. And this makes us laugh. This also makes the customers laugh because they have to actually say the names out loud when they order stuff, which is fun. Yeah. The hidden. Yeah.
Thank you, Daniel.
Oh, right. Yeah. And so let's talk a bit about the hidden part of this bar. We never really wanted it to be hidden, but it's kind of a given since we're on the second floor of a restaurant, behind a door with no sign. And when people come here, they talk about a speakeasy because that's kind of been a thing in bars for the last 10 years internationally. But it's also, a speakeasy is a concept that is really played out. Not necessarily in Oslo or Norway, but everybody else in the world are like, oh, speakeasies, not again. So we don't really want to call it a speakeasy, but I understand why people would call it that. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of the speakeasy, but this is something that is closely tied to the whole cocktail culture because, well, the cocktail culture kind of started in the US, and the US had a prohibition era that lasted for 13 years from about 1920 to 1933. And in this period, people still wanted to drink. So a lot of illegal bars and clubs popped up, and they were basically, I mean, in movies and TV series and stuff, these speakeasies have been kind of romanticized. You imagine yourself going through a back door and you come into this huge lounge with fancy tables and a big band and jazz singers and stuff, but that was not the case. The speakeasies were dingy little clubs in basements with sawdust on the floor and crates for tables. They were basically in and out operations because they were illegal. So they had to be able to move fast if they were discovered. And they also served really bad alcohol. At worst, you could probably die from drinking there. So
all the good bartenders had kind of left before the prohibition. They'd left for Caribbean, for Europe.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
so bartenders nowadays are saying, why romanticize an era that was kind of dark ages of our occupation? Which is why we don't really talk about it. But yeah, we're still hidden. So.
Yeah, well, we are hidden. It's a kind of a gift because you kind of weed out the bullshit, but it's still, it's not the greatest thing. But the actual hidden part of what we do is the stuff you don't see. The stuff is, I mean, we get up early. I know not this early because this is fucking stupid, but we got up early bartender-wise. We're here from 10 o'clock in the morning to 12, around 10, between 10 and 12, and we start doing prep work because this bar has to be open. There's a lot of different stuff goes on to make the stuff, the drinks. So we have hours of prep work. We also have to do admin because it's not just I mean, there's everyone who's ever had to write a spreadsheet knows what I'm talking about. There's loads of stuff that goes down. So it's like the hours of prep work, and then we sit down. We have to think of new ideas for drinks. We have to think of new concepts for if we want to do something special in the bar. All this has to be thought through, and then the actual setting up of the bar. Like now, we're not fully set up now. This is what we come to work to see, and it's not far from what you see when you come in here. There's so much things. It takes 2 to 3 hours to set up this bar. And that's like citrus, that's syrups, that's just seeing that, that's getting the spirits up. That's all these have to be put into separate bottles. There's so many steps to opening a bar. But I mean, we have 60, 70-hour work weeks. Like usually, we try and I mean, we've completely forsaken like any idea of having a huge social life. I have friends. I don't rarely see them unless they come here. So we want it to be perfect, and you have to work for that. I mean, we don't have, like in New York, they have loads of Mexicans who work there for tip. We don't have that. We're our own Mexican.
Yeah, and then we kind of get into the economy of running a bar, because that's the thing. If you want to run a full service, table service cocktail bar with this amount of prep work in Norway, you don't have the luxury that they have in many other countries, which is that staff costs are extremely low. Extremely low. The cost of alcohol is extremely low in other countries, whereas here, staff is extremely expensive and alcohol is extremely expensive. So our only way around this was to actually get a set salary and just say that, as he said, we are our own kind of illegal immigrants. We have to work. We have to do all the bar backing, all the prep work, all the setups, and
we're old, man.
and yeah, we found a lot of challenges with this. Of course, that we don't have a social life anymore, but it kind of feels worth it still, because we still want to create the perfect bar. And other challenges that we had were actually introducing a concept that Norwegians aren't used to come to a bar and sit down and not be able to be bigger groups. People don't all the time understand that we can't allow for people to stand in this room. It's a small bar, and we need to be able to get around to the tables to serve people. So if we have a group of 10 standing in the middle of the room shouting, that's not going to help anyone. And also the fact that, yeah, since we're a small bar and we've got a limited amount of seats, we have waiting lists. People sit down in the restaurant and wait for tables to get available, and it takes time to actually make people realize that this is how this bar has to work.
Which is ironic, because the round table you're getting your coffee from and your delicious banana chocolate cakes or bread is, so we're not going to be that hidden anymore. We're going to open that up and make it part of Morgenstern as well, because we have, in the weekends, we have loads of people that want to sit down, and we can accommodate them. There we'll try and take bigger groups, and we'll see how that goes. But the speakeasy is kind of going out, because we want more people to be able to hang out here. For this room to work, we need the space. We need to be able to walk. We need to give table service and all that out there. Still table service, but more rowdy, more part of the restaurant. So that's changing. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess that was it.
Like we said, we do this for the love of it. None of us have ever been really good at anything else. At least I haven't. And So this is what we know, and this is what we do, and this is what we're proud of doing, and this is how we've chosen to live our lives, and it's great. It's a good life. And I think that's us for today. If